We're surrounded by them every single day. Health campaigns. They're supposed to make us healthier, right? But what if I told you that behind these well-meaning messages, there's a whole world of ethical questions we hardly ever talk about? I mean, think about it. Eat your veggies, quit smoking, don't drink and drive. It all seems so obvious, so good. But that's the thing. What if these messages, the ones we all accept without a second thought, are actually a Trojan horse for some really tough ethical problems? Problems that might even be causing harm. Because underneath the surface of every single one of these healthy messages that are trying to get us to change our ways, yep, there's an ethical minefield. Seriously. The simple act of trying to persuade someone to be healthier, even with the best intentions, is packed with hidden dangers that can have some pretty devastating consequences.
So, to really get a handle on this, we've got to go back to basics. It really all boils down to two fundamental ideas that are constantly at war with each other in the world of health promotion. First up, you've got this principle called beneficence. It's a fancy word, but it just means doing good. This is the engine driving every health campaign out there. It's the moral duty to help people get healthier. It's why these campaigns even exist in the first place.
But, and this is a huge but, here's where things get tricky. We have another principle that's just as, if not more important, non-maleficence, or simply, do no harm. This is like the golden rule in healthcare. You have to avoid causing harm, and that doesn't just mean physical harm, it means psychological and social harm too.
And this example just nails the conflict perfectly. An anti-obesity campaign, right, totally comes from a place of doing good. But that exact same campaign can make people feel judged, ashamed, and terrible about themselves. It can kick off this whole spiral of psychological harm, all while completely ignoring the real-world reasons someone might struggle with their weight, like poverty or not having access to healthy food.
And this tug-of-war gets even more personal. It's not just about good versus harm. It's about our freedom. You have this constant tension between what's supposedly good for society's health and what's my right, your right, to make your own decisions about your own life and your own body.
Okay, now let's go a little deeper down the rabbit hole. What if I told you that these well-intentioned campaigns could actually be making society less equal? It sounds crazy, I know, but this is what's known as the health equity paradox, a situation where trying to help actually hurts.
So let's break this down. There's this fascinating and honestly pretty disturbing idea called the knowledge gap. What it means is that these big, one-size-fits-all health campaigns don't actually reach everyone in the same way. People who have more money and education are just better positioned to hear, understand, and then act on the health info. So a campaign about preventing heart disease might be a huge success for wealthier communities, but barely make a dent for those who are struggling.
And listen, this isn't just some theory. The research is really clear on this. In a horribly ironic twist, these campaigns can end up making the rich healthier and the poor sicker. They can actually widen the very social gaps they're meant to be closing. And just when you think it can't get any worse, you have to factor in the digital divide. As everything moves online, huge groups of vulnerable people, older folks, people with low incomes, new immigrants, they just get left in the dust. They might not have a computer or the know-how to navigate all this online health information, which puts them at an even greater disadvantage.
So, we've seen how these campaigns can go wrong on a big societal level. But what about the specific tactics they use? Let's put the actual methods of persuasion on trial. This is where it gets really murky. Okay, take the idea of personal responsibility. On the one hand, talking about it can be really empowering, right? It gives people a sense of control. But wow, is it a tightrope walk? Because one little misstep and you're not empowering anyone anymore. You're just blaming them for things that are completely out of their control, like living in a food desert or not having a safe place to exercise.
Which brings us to the big one. The question that is health experts and ethicists basically at war with each other. Is it okay to scare people into being healthy?
And this debate is fierce. You've got one side arguing that, hey, sometimes you have to shock people to get their attention. If it saves lives, the ends justify the means. But then you have critics who are shouting from the rooftops that these scare tactics just cause massive anxiety and stress. And for people who already feel powerless, it can just make them give up entirely, thinking, well, there's nothing I can do anyway.
But here's the real kicker. When a campaign uses shame or stigma as a tool, it's doing something really dangerous. It's creating an us and a them. It's othering people. It turns folks who need help and compassion into social outcasts, which just crushes their self-esteem and makes it less likely they'll ever reach out for support.
Okay, so after all that doom and gloom, you're probably wondering, is there a better way to do this?
And the good news is, yes, absolutely, there is. So let's talk about an ethical compass that can help us navigate these incredibly tricky waters.
It really comes down to 4 key principles. First, truthfulness. No more cherry-picked stats or scary exaggerations. Just be honest. Second, completeness. Don't dump things down. Give people the whole story, the good, the bad, the uncertain, and trust them to handle it. Third, sincerity. Be totally transparent about who's funding the campaign and what the real goals are. No hidden agendas. And finally, and this one is the game changer, inclusion. Stop talking at people and start talking with them. Involve the community in actually designing the messages that will affect their lives.
You see, the ultimate goal here is a huge shift in thinking. It's about moving away from this top-down, we know what's best for you kind of persuasion. It's about creating communication that shows genuine respect for people's intelligence, their choices, and their right to make up their own minds.
So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you see a health ad, are you just going to see a helpful tip, or are you going to see it for what it really is? A complex ethical test, a balancing act between doing good, doing no harm, and respecting every single person's freedom. Something to think about.